StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to make your brain earn its salary. You didn't know you were paying your brain a salary? Well, you are. But before we get into that, let me tell everybody, I have a daily motivation text that I send out every single day to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. It's free to join my text community. I also send out a weekly one every Monday. Just text me right now. My number 305-384-6894. We'll tell you what your options are for how often you like to hear from me, but it's free to get in the text community, so just text me now. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. If you like to work with me directly, there is only one way and one place to do it. All you got to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description. All that out the way, let's get to it. How to make your brain earn its salary. Again, as I said, you didn't know your brain was being paid a salary. Well, it is to the tune of, let me tell you the salary that you're paying your brain. Any of you didn't know, this is your payroll. 20% of your oxygen is going to your brain. The oxygen that you breathe, 20% of it goes to your brain. And about the same percentage of your blood all committed to your brain. That's 1/5 of all you got is going to your brain. Your oxygen in your blood. You run out of oxygen or blood, they call that death. Okay, so you're giving 20% of all you got that keeps you alive to your brain. Contextually, I may sometimes use mind and brain, but mostly I'll stick to brain interchangeably in today's episode, although there are people who say, and it is true, they are not exactly the same. Maybe one day I'll do an episode where I juxtapose those 2 points. Today is not that day. But for the context of this class, I may use them interchangeably, so don't get confused. And since I have consistently and strongly told you that the way you think is the most important aspect of how you perform, you've never heard me say that before, hear me say it now. Mindset is the foundation of all success, is the foundation of all failure. That's why in Work on Your Game University, the first thing we start with is mindset. Then we move on to your plan of action. Then we move on to your processes. Then we move on to the accountability in that order. Mindset is number one. It will always be number one for any of you. I don't care what your goal is. Mindset is number one. You don't change your mindset, you're not going to hit the goal. I don't care if your goal is about money. Until you change your mindset, you're not going to get there. All right, everybody got it? Okay, good. Since I say that all the time, and it's the most important aspect of how you perform, thus the outcome of your life, your brain is basically the foundation of where you are, who you are, and where you're headed. That's it. So you are paying a hefty price for whatever's going on up there between your ears. Let's talk about how to make sure you're getting your money's worth. Number one, topic once again is how to make your brain earn its salary. Number one, stop letting your brain go on vacation. This is what many of you do. You let your brain go on vacation. What does this mean? When you are consuming nonsense material that does not challenge your brain to actually do work, it is on vacation. When you watch reality TV, your brain is on vacation. When you are reading gossip blogs, your brain is on vacation. When you're looking at garbage on your social media feed, people who are just talking about other people, your brain is on vacation. All right, remember that small minds talk about other people, average minds talk about events, big minds talk about ideas. So anytime you're looking at anything on social media that's just talking about other people, your brain is on vacation. You don't have to think to talk about another person. You don't have to think to be entertained by somebody else talking about another person. Any of you who indulges in this, your brain is on vacation when you're doing that. I understand it's entertaining. I understand it's fun. I understand it makes you laugh. All right. These things are not putting your brain to work. They tell your brain to take a break. Now, again, let's be clear here. There's nothing wrong with taking a break from time to time. All right, there's nothing wrong with taking a break. Every once in a while, we all need a break. But understand, many of you are on break more than you're at work. That's a problem. Many of you have your brain on break more than your brain is actually at work. That is a problem. The biggest challenge many of you have today is that your brain is on break damn near all day. This is not good. Same time that you spend on social media scrolling through nonsense, people talking about other people, you be scrolling through people who are actually giving you substance, and they exist. There's plenty of them out there. All right, the same 30 minutes you spend watching garbage on YouTube that might be funny and entertaining, I get it. You can watch something of substance that can make you smarter, more insightful, or more intelligent, or at least can open up your mind to new possibilities. That's what I mean by putting your brain to work. Now, even I personally, I will look on social media and even YouTube and find material where a person's talking about another person, but I'm doing it for a specific reason, because sometimes I will talk about a current event. Average minds discuss events. I will talk about a current event or something that involves a particular person, usually connected to an event, but I always connect it back to an idea. I always do that. And you look at any material of mine where I talk about a current event, I always bring it back to an idea. I always do. Why? Because work on your game is about giving people the game. It's not just about me telling you my opinion about a current event. It's not a gossip blog. So I do it strategically. If I'm listening to somebody talk about another person, there's a strategy behind it where I'm looking for something that I can extract that I can use for my own purposes. If you're not doing that, you're just consuming just to consume. You're wasting your life. Get your time, your life. Put your brain to work. When you are finished a work task, folks, there's another thing you can do. Stop giving yourself an equal amount of time of said work to take a break after you finish the task. In other words, you just finished the task, it took 30 minutes. You don't get 30 minutes of social media scrolling as a payoff. No. You just finished doing a task that took 15 minutes. You don't get 15 minutes of scrolling through Instagram as a trade-off for the 15 minutes of work. No, you get 15 seconds, then you get back to work. Do the next thing. You've heard me talk about how to get more life out of your life. You got to condense time. So these long breaks that you take doing a whole bunch of bullshit, if you eliminate those, you'll get a whole bunch more done in one day. And again, this is how you take a week's worth of activity and you get it done in 2 days. By condensing time and stop telling your brain to take a break. You give your brain a day's worth of work, it will do a day's worth of work, and it may be tired at first. You got to get used to it. This is the third day concept, but it gets used to it and it will adjust. It will adjust to anything that is forced upon it. Human beings are incredible adaptation machines. Many of you have adopted to a bunch of bullshit, and this is why you're not getting anything done in your life, and you feel like you're stagnating, and you are stagnating. You don't feel like it, you are stagnating. That feeling is not lying to you because you're doing a bunch of nonsense and letting your brain go on vacation. Your brain in this state is operating at maybe 50% capacity, a bunch of you. Half work and half nonsense. All right, so I mean literally 50%. Your brain is much more capable than that. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to make your brain earn its salary. Number 2, give your brain challenging work and it will rise to the occasion. I just told you this. In the mental workbook, for example, you can get that at workonmygame.com/workbook. I explain to you how to program your subconscious brain, give it work to do, even when you are not consciously thinking, such as when you're sleeping. The brain can be working for you at all times. Your brain can work for you even when you're asleep, but it works similar to an artificial intelligence application. Any of you ever use any kind of AI or something like that? The quality of AI work is based on what? Whatever you tell it to do. All right, you give it a crappy prompt, then it's going to produce crappy work. You give it a great prompt, then it produces great work. As a general rule, let's be clear, as a general rule. Sometimes some AI software is just not that good. No matter what you tell it, it's going to produce crap because it just isn't up to par just yet as of this recording. Now, a year from now, maybe it'll be a little bit better. But right now, there could be some garbage. So any of you who follows me on social media may have seen some of the photos that I post that are AI generated. And I gave it pretty good prompts, but it still produced garbage because it simply can't handle certain things it just can't do. All right, I had a picture of myself in a suit and it had me on my head was like some kind of turban, and then it was hair on top, and then the suit looked okay, but then my hands were of a white guy and the thumb was like as long as a finger. It just didn't look right. And it wasn't because I gave it a bad prompt, because the software was just crappy software. But as a general rule, understand my point here. Understand the spirit and the direction of my point. That you give your brain bad input is going to produce bad outputs. Okay? So a better set of instructions will lead to a better outcome. Okay? So if you ever tried to create an image or video with AI software, you know that the better the prompt, the better the outcome, as a general rule. Now, no instructions. If you give your brain nothing to do, well, guess what it produces? Nothing. All right. And many of you, again, I just described you. You ain't asking your brain to do any work and it ain't doing nothing. That's what happens. No instructions mean no outcome. So what kind of instructions are you giving your brain on a daily basis, folks? When you start your day, are you giving your brain instructions for what you want to get done that day? You should be. If you read the mental workbook, you will be, because I tell you exactly how to do it. There is a process to this, and it is a real thing, and it's not some hocus pocus woo-woo bullshit. It is a real thing, and I'll explain it to you logically, and I'll tell you how to apply it directly. Go get the mental workbook. Go to workonmygame.com/workbook, or go to thirddaybook.com and just say yes to every book bundle that we offer you in the sales funnel, and get yourself like 13 books, because who reads this one book anyway? So that's what I would suggest you do. And many of you may feel a bit sheepish at this point because you're giving your brain no instructions and it's giving you nothing back. And we just talked about this a few days ago. Opening your mind up by giving it open-ended questions rather than closed statements. When you ask open-ended questions of yourself, you challenge your brain to think and come up with solutions, even when you're asking questions that you're not sure you have an answer to. When the brain is challenged, it will expand and grow, similar to how muscles, when challenged, expand and grow. You challenge your muscles, they will get bigger and stronger. You challenge your brain, it doesn't necessarily get bigger. It doesn't mean your head's going to expand, but the brain will become more capable because you are challenging it to think in ways that it otherwise has not been challenged to think. Many of you are letting your brain, again, you're letting your brain off the hook. In basketball, for example, if you were a person who could drive to the basket really well, I was that type of player when I played. My coaches would say to me, every time you shoot a jump shot, instead of driving to the basket, you're letting the defense off the hook because you're not making them have to work to get the ball back from you. But if you drive to the basket, they can't stop you as easily when you drive to the basket, Dre, as they can stop you if you shoot a jump shot. So don't let them off the hook by shooting a jump shot. Make them work and put some pressure on them by driving to the basket. You got a better chance of scoring anyway if you drive than if you shoot a jump shot. So that was any of you who played basketball, you understand that metaphor. Somebody like LeBron James, especially in his prime years, that was the thing about him. He was a okay shooter, but he was much better driving to the hole. He's big, strong, athletic. He can jump over the moon. If he drives to the basket, it's pretty hard to stop him. But if he shoots a jump shot, it was pretty easy to stop him. You got to hope that he misses the shot. And he wasn't some dead-eye Steph Curry type shooter. So you're better off with him shooting than driving. The whole point is you're letting your brain off the hook when you don't challenge it. Same way a basketball player lets the defense off the hook when you don't challenge the defense. So make it work. When you make it work, it will get better, it will get stronger, and you get the results that you want. Point number 3, today's topic, once again, is how to make your brain earn its salary. Number 3, explain what you know. Yes, explain what you know. Doing this makes your brain work harder. It makes your brain better. Let me explain what I mean here. Remember that you don't really know something, folks, until you've done it. You don't truly know it until you can teach it. The next level after that is getting paid to teach. Let's just focus on the teaching aspect itself. This is the levels of expertise framework that I'm talking about here. There are levels of expertise. There's a level 1, which is consuming. Level 2 is when you're doing. Level 3 is when you're teaching. Level 4 is when you can get paid to teach. So if you really know something, you got to be able to teach it. Level 3 is the only level that is real expertise, where you can teach a subject to another person. Just because you have read it and done it yourself doesn't really mean you know it. You really know it. You can share it with somebody else, and now they know it. You can spread the knowledge. You can share the wealth. The next level, again, as I said, is getting paid. But when you teach something that you know, or at least that you think you know, now what does that force you to do? It forces you to communicate with your words what's going on in your brain. And this is a challenge. This is not very easy to do. Communicating with your words what is going on in your brain. This is not as smooth as it's not as easy as it seems. Communicating through words what's happening in your head. Like, how many of you know something really good, but you would struggle to explain it to another person? Those who get good at it, these are the people who start, they have shows, they have podcasts, they become coaches, they are consultants, they run masterminds, they write books, they have YouTube channels, they do speaking gigs. People who can take what's in their brain and they can translate it and get other people to understand it. This is what they end up doing. These are the career paths available for those individuals. When you can teach what you know. And I mean, what you actually know, things that you've actually done. I'm not talking about all due respect to the teachers in the room. I'm not talking about a college professor who is teaching a subject that they have no actual hands-on real life knowledge in. All right. Shout out to the American educational system. That's a tongue-in-cheek statement. But no, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people who've actually done a thing, and then you go teach the thing that you have literally done yourself, which we don't get in the system in the United States. So I'm not mad at you, teacher, who is listening to this, but that's the system. You are just a product of the system. Not mad at you. You just work there. All right. So that's what I'm saying. I got family members who are teachers, so I'm not knocking y'all personally. The whole point is, when you have to translate and communicate what you know to another person, now you realize how much maybe you don't know, or how much you know, but you struggle to get across to other people. This makes you a lot better when you have to communicate what you know, because you have to put it into verbiage that other people can get. Is not just for you to get. So it's almost like you have to code what you know in such a way that other people can read the code. Because you have certain codes that you communicate with yourself with that make sense to you, but when you got to communicate it to somebody else, it doesn't make sense as easily. It's much harder for it to make sense. So you got to translate all that stuff. It's kind of like any of you who uses any of you ever built a website. You take your website off of one platform, you move it to another platform. Sometimes those two platforms don't communicate. So it's hard to take it from over here to over here because the platforms don't communicate. The code on this site doesn't work well. It's not compatible with the code on that site. So either you got to rebuild the site, or you just got to stay where you are, or I don't know what you're going to do. Hire somebody who knows the translation better than you do, but it becomes a problem if everybody follows what I'm saying here. So even if your explanation of what you know, when I say explain what you know, you can explain what you know just to yourself. You don't have to have an audience. Explain it to yourself. Take something that you know, that you believe you know, and explain it to yourself. Write it down. Turn the selfie camera on your phone and prop the phone up and just talk to the phone and explain what you know in your own words to yourself. You will realize at some point you're going to get stuck. You're like, damn, how am I not able to explain this to myself? I know how to do it. And this is a communication skill, folks. And your brain plays a big role in your communication because it translates, again, what's already up there. It has to translate it to words. The words got to come out of your mouth or out of your hands if you're typing or writing. See, when you're letting it out from your brain, is only internal for you. It's only for internal use. But when you make it external, now you got to make it make sense to everybody else. So even if your explanation of what you know is just with yourself, you will understand the topics a lot better when you explain them than when they're just stuck in your head. This is how the process of constant creation, like what you see me doing, even without an audience, even if you had no audience, you just create it. It will make you smarter because you get better at explaining what you know, even if you're just talking to yourself, because you have to translate it and make it make sense. All right, that doesn't make sense what I just said. How do I make that make sense? Any of you has ever delegated a task, you will realize maybe where you fail in explaining things, because anything that you leave out is not going to get done right. And you're like, damn, wait a minute, I missed a step. No wonder they messed that part up. Anytime my assistant makes a mistake, it's not her fault. It's something in my process that I did not properly explain that led to her making a mistake. Now, if she actually makes a mistake, then she's going to be held accountable for it. But generally, it's usually a mistake that I made in not communicating properly. So let's recap today's class, which is how to make your brain earn its salary. Yes, it does have a salary. 20% of your blood, 20% of your oxygen. Number one, stop letting your brain go on vacation. It goes on vacation whenever you turn it off and you are consuming nonsense that does not challenge your brain to think. Ideas are what big minded people think about. Average people think about events. Small minded people talk about other people. Number two, give your brain challenging work and it will rise to the occasion. You must challenge your brain. Give it work to do. Give it a job. Give it a process every single day. The mental workbook will explain to you how and why to do this and exactly what to do. Number three, explain what you know, even if you're talking to yourself. Remember that you don't truly know something until you can explain it, so you can teach it to other people. You got to do it, and then you got to be able to teach it. So even if your explanation is just to yourself, you understand the topic a lot better when you had to explain it than when it's just stuck in your head. You will realize that, damn, I don't know this subject as well as I thought I did when you start having to articulate it, besides just thinking about it in your head. So this is the way you can give your brain some work and make sure it's earning its salary. Text me so you're in my text community, so you're getting my daily motivation every single day. My number is 305-384-6894. Monday motivation every week. It's free to join the text community. Also, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Only place you can work with me directly. Only place I do any coaching. That university link is workonyourgameuniversity.com down in the description. Work on your game. Dre all